So, as you know, India follows a closed system of adoption. So, what are your views on open and closed adoption?
To be honest, I was not familiar with what open adoption is, and you got the answer to your question. I obviously don't have a view on that, but I did read up about it, and from whatever I understand, it's where you have the biological and adoptive parents in close contact and with the child as well. I just feel like that's just going to cause a lot of confusion. I don't know to what extent, all four or how many about sets of parents are there who are going to be involved in the bringing up of the child. But I just remember, like, from my own childhood, like, you already face two sets of parenting styles with the mother and the father. That in itself can cause a lot of confusion, and of course children being very smart, they learn how to manipulate and things like that. But that's a different thing. But I think it's just going to cause more confusion than benefits. I'm not really sure at this stage if society is so accepting and welcoming of having so many people being involved in a child's upbringing and childhood. Also, I was just thinking, like, my daughter's biological mother has given her up. I'm not really sure what benefit it will bring to her, to my daughter or us, or to her, to kind of bring her back into her life. There's probably been a reason why she wanted to give her up, and she's legally given her up, and it's, the whole legal process is fine, where she had time to reconsider her decision and take back the baby. So once that's done, I'm not really sure setting the clock back and, kind of saying, come back, and it kind of would be forcible. I just feel like it's a very fairy tale thing of stuff of movies, which rarely ever happens. I obviously haven't read up enough about it, and I don't know how well it's worked in terms of wherever it has worked and what are the benefits it brings. But right now, I just feel like, in the keeping the child's well-being in mind, I think, just continuing with closed adoption is probably the best thing. And I think a different kind of consideration is also societal acceptance, right? Because firstly, adoption by itself is not that well accepted and welcomed a decision. There is still there is still a hierarchy, right? Like, biological parents, biological children are right up there, then adoptive parents, adoptive kids. So already when you have that hierarchy, then you have another set of layering with another set of parents. I just feel like it's just complicating everything and messing up our child. We are very clear, and we've also, from what we've heard from other people's experiences, our daughter will know that she's adopted, and in terms of, I think, more in terms of saying she's our heart baby versus coming from a stomach. But I think that's something we're very comfortable with, and we, even now when we talk to her, we say, we're so happy that you chose us. You've come into our lives from the agency or from wherever you are. So I think that's something we're very clear with, and we're going to continue speaking that way to her. So if there comes a point in time where she needs more information, we'll give her whatever information we have. But I think at that point in time, the choice is hers. If she needs more information, and if she, it's going to go get into some sort of a Bollywood movie style where, they're going to go and look for things, we'll deal with it at that point.
Okay, so touching upon the process again, you said that this was your first referral. What was going through your mind when you got that?
I think it was just panic. Firstly, it was very clinical start, where you just get an SMS saying, you've been referred, go and check. It's just like, Amazon delivery is arriving today, kind of. So I was just a bit like, oh my God, is this how it happens? And then panicky calls to people who've been through the process, and then trying to reach the agency, their number wasn't getting through and things like that. But we figured, within 48 hours, you have to reserve the child. And we reconfirmed with the agency and Kara that if we reject, we will still maintain our seniority. So on that basis, then we immediately went and reserved her. I think the second thing we then did is, of course, try and see if we know pediatricians in Pune. We did confirm with the agency they were comfortable for us to go and show the baby to another pediatrician of our choice. So I think that's the second thing that we did, and then of course figured out all the logistics of flights and all of that. But I think there was a lot of opacity in terms of what happens, what is that 48 hours actually for, right? So the agency just said, until you reserve the baby, we can't tell you anything about it. But my counter was like, what if I at least need to know, like, what is the status, normal? They just said she's a normal baby, right? Like, that's it. So I think that is where I've realized that there is a change, the difference in terms of how agencies deal with it. Because the medical report only has information as of birth. I don't know what is the current status, right? So I think the agency's perspective was we've had really bad experiences with other parents, and we're learning from our mistakes, so we're not giving out any information until we are sure you're going to come and at least see the baby. So again, we were told just go with whatever the agency says, stick to whatever they say, follow whatever they say. So I think we're very fortunate after hearing other people's stories that they were very cooperative. They were allowing us to go and show her to another pediatrician. So things like that, I think we got lucky probably that we got a really good agency.
Okay. So you brought your daughter home 4 weeks ago, and you're still waiting for the court order.
Yes, that is true. So we're right now as foster parents, we have custody based on the foster care agreement. I think estimate is another couple of months before the court hearing. So in our mind, that's just a formality that needs to be completed, and fingers crossed that gets done quickly and fast. But yes, that is something again that is a niggling thing behind at the back of your mind, saying what if the judge has some issues or there's some other this thing. So I don't think that's a big anxiety or as such, but I just wish it was faster and you just get done with it, because you've already been waiting for 2 years, and in other cases maybe longer. Then you have to go through the whole thing and then refresh all your documents, including your own medical reports, your bank statements, this, that, and again it's that 48 hours you have to get all of this sorted as well, apart from getting emotionally prepared and psychologically preparing yourself. So I think that those are things where it seems a little thoughtless. And I just feel like Kara's had time since 2014 or 15 when this process started to now to kind of refine it, standardize it to some extent, or things like like we were told Maharashtra needs a police verification. That's not a requirement in Bangalore, so we never got it done. So if I know that in advance, I would get it done, and if I know how long that's valid, I would just get it done.
Mm-hmm. So obviously this journey is not over. You're still on the way, but how would you describe it so far?
I think that's the most tough question. I think excited, obviously. I think my mom kind of keeps looking at me and saying, "You've changed so much." So I can't believe you had so much patience. You've been spending like 1.5 hours trying to put your daughter to bed. So the experience is just I think you discover yourself through your child. She's discovering you, you're discovering yourself. I think we are both, in terms of husband and wife as well, we are discovering things about each other. So I would describe this as very exciting, innovative, because I've started singing lullabies, which I've been making up songs, tunes, stuff like that, and my husband's like, "You're gonna beat A.R. Rahman every day. There's some new tune coming out of you." So it's innovative in that way, and I think you become enterprising, because if you don't have toys to play, you just figure out, you pull out your handkerchief or with your specs, you just like try and entertain her. So it's really been exciting, but I think I've been warned. It's still, you're having your honeymoon period, but babies also bring out the worst in you. So I'm waiting to see what's coming up next as well. So it's wait and watch, guessing, and extremely, extremely fulfilling, I would say. Yeah.
So coming to our last question, would you consider adoption again? I know it's only been a few weeks, but
right now my honest answer is probably not.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like amazed that people have more than one kid. And I can't even think of having a kid who's like less than 6 months, whose head is not fixed and things like that. So I don't think that we have it in our hearts also to have another child in our life. But of course, things may change. Never say never, is what I've learned so far in my life. We're also older parents, so I'm not sure how much more energy we have left to kind of run behind kids and things like that. So I think right now my answer is no.
All right. So, thank you for having us here. It was a very stimulating conversation, I would say. Very nice to meet you.
Same here, my pleasure entirely. And I think, I definitely want to give a big shout out to both Gayatri and Dr. Aloma. I think they've been extremely helpful, and in the short short conversations I've had with them, extremely thought provoking. And one thing I will definitely want to end with here. I think Dr. Aloma, the biggest takeaway from my 1 hour conversation with her is, adoption is a decision you need to make with your head, not with your heart. And I think that thing when we went to Pune to see our baby the first time, we kept telling ourselves that, and I'm very certain that's the reason it's worked out so well as well. So we kept telling ourselves, we need to see the baby, take her to the pediatrician. If everything is okay, then we will go through with it. So no, like, oh my God, this baby is like mine, and it's pulling strings in my heart and all of that. So I think that's one piece of advice I would always remember and share with anybody who asks me when they're considering adoption. Thank you.
Thank you so much.